We got another screenshot leak, I guess, from Roost in the Bazaar Discord. I don't know if he was feeling sorry for us because he's taking away our Friday updates, but there's a lot of juicy stuff in here. I myself haven't actually looked at it yet, not properly. I glanced at it, but I kept myself away from it. I was good. I was calm. I don't know how I managed it, but I've managed to not look at it until now, so you're going to get my live reaction as I go through the entire thing and pick out every little detail that we can. So, let's take a look. What can we see? Okay, so first things first, the absolute first thing on here is the thing that we're hovering, the shiny cash cannon. So it is shiny, which means they had a cash cannon, and they bought another cash cannon, and they had a little baby together, and it's the shiny cash cannon. Is that canon now? Do items have babies, and that's how shinies are made? Did we just canonize how shinies are made? Hey, it's canon. Anyway, the shiny cash cannon deals damage equal to 7 times the most gold you've ever had while you owned this. Every 6.9 seconds, but we almost definitely have some speed. So it's at least 7 seconds. So let's reverse engineer this a little bit. Can we figure out what the regular cash cannon does? Is the regular cash cannon... My bet for regular cash cannon is either it's not 7x, it's like 3x or something, or 4x, or it's the most gold you currently have, which is what cash cannon used to be. I can bring up the Bazaar item library, which if you don't know what it is, there are links in chat and or in YouTube, depending on where this is being watched. So, cash cannon is here. Deal damage equal to 7 times your money. Yeah, so that's what it used to be. Oh, it did say 5 times, but it could have been buffed. Okay, thank you, Swampsy, who looks after the Bazaar item library. It either does 5 or 7 times originally, the gold that you currently have, as far as we know. The shiny upgrade makes it 7 times the most gold you've ever had while you owned this. So at this point, you can, if you've been saving up like 50 something gold, you can start spending it because you've got it. It's locked in. We are currently doing 548 damage, which I can't do quick maths. I mean, I could figure this out, but I don't want to figure this out. It was 548 divided by 7. I didn't think it was a round number. That's strange. Strength must apply after the calculation, obviously. He would have had about 78 gold, which is a lot of gold, as far as we know. I think times change, things change, but 78 gold is quite a lot. But if you're going all in on a shiny cash cannon, I guess you kind of have to just save up a lot of gold. But now you can spend it, right? That's actually the really good thing about upgrading the shiny cash cannon. Is your win condition, up until you get shiny, is store gold, store gold, store gold. When you buy shiny cash cannon, it's almost like it actually works the first time ever, because you actually shoot away your gold. Suddenly you have a really hard-hitting cash cannon, and you can spend 78 gold on like every upgrade you ever want. You can buy all of the shinies, you can buy new hero powers, you can unlock all of your board slots. Just spend, spend, spend. So yeah, this is undoubtedly a fun item to have. But it is not the only thing we get to see. I might work from top to bottom and just go through this slowly. First things first, enemy Pygmalion has 50, I'm going to go with 55 gold, that looks like, because the numbers look very similar. But it might be that it's like 59, it could be 95. Yeah, I'm seeing a connection here now. It could be 95. It could be 99. It could well be 99. Maybe if this connected here and it's just like a test dummy or something. But yeah, 55, 59, 99. It's a lot of gold regardless. As far as we're concerned, in our times, that's a lot of gold. So either they have updated how gold functions, maybe they've made everything more expensive and given everyone more gold, but Reynad said originally he was going to stray away from that. He didn't want to make maths unnecessarily difficult, you know, in these games where you have like, you're having to do tens of thousands of damage calculation when effectively they've just made the numbers 1 and 5 look more impressive. Why not just give someone 1 and 5 and ask them to do that maths? So that's the sort of philosophy that they went into this with. So maybe this is just a test. Maybe they're experimenting with a bajillion gold. Who knows? Next along, I don't know why I went to the gold first. We don't read right to left, but hey, gold, I guess. We have a Pygmalion. It doesn't look like the exact same Pygmalion. If I were to guess, he kind of looks like a recolor, doesn't he? Like, it's not the same Pygmalion colors, but it's the same Pygmalion, like, sprite. Like, he's in the same pose as regular Pygmalion. So it's some sort of skin for sure, but is it a full different skin and he just happens to be in a very similar pose? That's definitely possible. But a lot of the skins we've seen so far, they were in like completely different poses, and they've got like, I don't know, they're holding loads of extra stuff, and Jules has an octopus and all this other stuff. But it could just be a skin. I think I'm leaning more towards this being a recolor though, and actually I hope they exist. Recolors are great in every game. I love it when they're included because they're typically sold very cheaply, or like that you can buy them with like the in-game currency, right? It's a way for people that don't want to buy a skin to get a skin, is by doing recolors. Big fan of those, and I hope that's what we see. There is also like a golden tint to the border. That could be like a ranked thing. That could be any number of things. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a board frame. Maybe we get to buy different board frames. Who knows? Just in the bottom left of his board, of his frame rather, of the Pygmalion, there is a little something. It looks like a number. If I had to guess, it looks like a little plus, almost like regeneration maybe, and then like a 5 or a 6 or a number here. It looks like, I don't know, he's being healed or shielded and the number is just popping up over his face. We've seen that animation a bunch of times. Speaking of that animation, there's another animation here, +5. We're gaining +5 to one of these stats. Now, what stats do we have as the stats that the enemy Pygmalion have? The enemy Pygmalion has regeneration. That looks like a little plus. I'd have to guess that this is armor. This looks like the helmet of armor. This I can't really see, but it must be strength, right? With it being that color, with it being like a reddish tinge. But again, I'm colorblind, so what the hell do I know? And this is speed. You can see the go faster stripes blurring slightly differently. It looks like he's got like 31 speed, like 23 strength, 40 armor, and then like a single digit of regen. Probably 6, because that's what this looks like, 6. So that's the regen he's gaining, and he's either gaining 5 strength or armor, I would have to imagine. So there is an item of Pygmalion's that gives him 5 strength or armor when activated. I think there might be some that we've already heard of, but it could be a shiny, could be something that's changed. We'll get onto what items I can see in a minute. He has a hero power a hero skill, not a hero power. We have a whole video explaining the difference. Well, not quite. We have a whole video on hero skills. But yeah, a default placeholder, so we can't really see what this is. They've changed the UI again, which is nice. Roost actually made a comment about this in the Bazaar Discord. He clarified that they are experimenting with a lot of different UI features. So in a lot of the pushes that they make and a lot of the test versions they have, there is just different UI because they're testing a bunch of things and they want to see what looks best for us. So I'm glad they're at least getting it all the way through that stage. They're not just throwing it into concept, seeing the concept of it and going, no, we like what we have, or yeah, we'll take that instead of this one. I'm glad they're actually testing a bunch of different ones. And this is a very cool one to see. I quite like this one feels a little bit more, I don't want to say mobile-y, but I can't think of a better word than mobile-y. And that's not even a word. But it's just like, it's more round, it's more smooth, it's got rounded edges on the health bar. Simplistic. Thank you. Yes, it is way more simplistic. That's not to say it is simple, but compared to the other one, we had quite the boxed edge health bars. We had this sort of like red, almost like vein looking pattern working through the health bar. This is more of just like a bog standard temperature gauge or ruler with a red coloring to it, I would imagine. But hey, maybe this works out better. Maybe this will be the UI for mobile and the other UI we'll get. Who knows? They're testing things, they're working it out. But personally, I liked the old aesthetic, and it looked really cool when the heart broke and like refilled the bar. I love that animation. So I hope we at least get to keep that. That looked really, really cool. Now we're on to the juicier things. So, first things first. We are playing Pygmalion. We're actually probably looking at their Pygmalion's cash cannon. Hey, that would make sense that we're hovering their cash cannon, not ours, because we are not playing Pygmalion. That is for sure. I'll get on to who we're playing in a second. I may have assumed something like this was happening. I didn't know the full extent of it because I glanced at Discord. I tried not to read many of the comments about this screenshot because I wanted to save it. But there's some interesting shit I can see coming up, so stay tuned. But for the time being, so he has cash cannon. Next to cash cannon, he has what looks like a billboard. Do we know what billboard does these days? Billboard, advance adjacent items by 2 seconds. Whenever you sell an item, gain 1 strength permanently. So advance adjacent items, so that's the abacus and the shiny cash cannon. That would make sense. That would be a pretty cool way to do it. And obviously he'd be trying to generate money, so billboard makes sense, trying to sell stuff. So yeah, we have a cash cannon on one side of it, and on the other side of it, we have a big abacus. Abacus, in the previous version, didn't do any damage. All it did is said the left non-weapon, so the non-weapon to the left of this, charges 25% faster. This is now doing damage. Now, that might still be what Abacus does. Abacus might still charge something faster to the left of it, because the left of it, depending on how we look at it, would be the billboard. No, it wouldn't be the billboard. It would be whatever's off screen. However, it has been upgraded. It has the fancy little border. You can see the little, what's it called when the corners are all fancy? There's a word for it in the English language. I don't remember it. Anyway, it's got fancy corners on it. Now, here is something that will be homework for us as soon as we start to see more screenshots, more videos of how things are done at the moment, and that the answer may well be out there already. But the shiny cash cannon has these 2 fancy corners in the bottom. We can't see the abacus, but it has 2 shiny corners at the top. What I can envisage happening is that a shiny item will have intricate bottom corners. I had to try and think of a word that wasn't fancy, because fancy items, I feel like, might have all 4 corners looking intricate. So I'm just going to have to guesstimate that one for now, but I feel like this is going to be shiny and the abacus is going to be fancy. Anyway, yes, so we have a fancy abacus that potentially gives the abacus damage. I don't think the abacus is going to have its old ability, because that was back in the days of like cooldown reduction rather than speed. So I think the abacus is definitely going to be doing something new. It might be doing damage by default. Or the shiny and or fancy upgrade made the abacus deal damage. So, moving on from the abacus and the billboard, because we don't really know what the abacus is doing other than it's doing damage and it shouldn't. We have the slingshot. This looks like it's doing something 9 damage. I want to say 69 because nice, but it could be a different number. Regardless, that's a 2-digit number that probably ends in a 9. That's probably not starting with a 1. That's a lot of damage for a slingshot. The slingshot fires pretty quickly. That thing's gonna hurt. And that's just a regular slingshot. It's not fancy, it's not shiny. Just a regular old slingshot, ping, 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 firing away alongside this giant cash cannon. So even that looks dangerous from this Pygmalion. Now we move down slightly. If you can draw your eyes to the bottom of the screen, we have to figure out what it is we're playing. Moving left to right, I see darts. Darts are a stell item. Excellent. It has TriCast on it. I love TriCast, I love Dualcast, I love Multicast. These are all really fun keywords to play with. Effectively what happens is when it triggers once, it'll trigger 3 times. Really, really cool, especially if you can like build some synergies off of that. Looks like it's only doing a single digit of damage, but that's fine. If we look to the item to the right of that, that's not a stell item. That's an item we haven't seen for a long time. That is a Mak item, which the last time we saw looked like it was giving poison damage to an adjacent item. which is a really cool thing to do with stealth darts if that's what they are and it's not just placeholder. Because you're giving Tricast to darts and poisoning this poor Pygmalion. It doesn't look like it's either not triggered or they're not in the middle of combat because there's no conditions in the top right hand here. There's nothing going on. But yeah, we don't have Stel. We have Mak, because if we continue along, the rest of the items, as far as I know, are either neutral or Mak items. And judging by how powerful this Pygmalion build they're against is, this is not early game. These are not neutral items. These are Mak items. Roost was playing Mak when he made the screenshot. That doesn't super surprise me, because a whole bunch of you guys are big Mak supporters. I can't wait to see what Mak does. So it's really, really cool and really interesting to see him. He's beating out even Dooley on like most popular polls and stuff now. So it's really cool to see some more Mak content. Unfortunately, this bloody shiny cash cannon pop-up blocks our view of 90% of what we can see. We have some sort of book. That doesn't surprise me. Mak is an alchemist, so he studies, I would imagine, or at least writes his recipes down in something. It has the like cool Bazaar gem set into it, and that's something I'm really looking forward to Mak, because the Bazaar gem, and just the Bazaar color scheme in general, is Mak's color scheme. So we're going to see a lot more of the Bazaar gem in Mak's cards, I would imagine. Just like we see quite a few of them in Pygmalion's cards, because it complements them. But yeah, we don't get to see if it's doing damage because the tooltip is blocking it. The item across from that, I have no idea what that is or what it's doing. It looks like it's in some sort of like ancient Japanese style building. That's what I'm getting. And it looks like it's like some sort of trapdoor, maybe. Yeah, some sort of trapdoor makes sense. You can kind of see that it's maybe lifted up from the floor, and the floor's a different color where it was. But heaven knows what that's doing. Probably doing damage based on them hitting us, or them doing something probably, right? But we can't see what it's doing because the shiny cash cannon card itself is on top of it. The only thing we can see, unfortunately, of what Mak is doing here is that Mak has this bell card. A small bell card at the far right that doesn't do damage, doesn't do healing, doesn't do shielding. Because if it did, it would have the little number on the top, like you can see on Shiny Cash Cannon, and on Abacus, and on Slingshot. It doesn't have that little number. We know it's some sort of like passive item that triggers based on something. So kind of like the Viper Fangs we were talking about before, it could buff an item to the side of it. It could reduce the cooldown of an item to the side of it. We saw a billboard earlier that it would increase the price of things sold. It could interact with so many different things. I actually just went over this in our very, very recent Bazaar Beginner's Guide to Cards. There are an absurd amount of different effects that these things can do. I'm glad, because it's given them a load of space to work in terms of card design, but it is actually a lot of different things to learn. It's not unfathomable, and a lot of them are very, very linked. You know, it's when you sell there are certain effect timings, like selling a card, buying a card, when a card activates, when the enemy's card activates, and there are an equal number of different effects it can do. Poison, advance, gain stats, sell for more, transform an item into a different item. That they've given themselves loads and loads and loads of card design space. They did a whole video on this, it was really interesting. But because of that, just from this card art, or item art I should say, we can't see what's going on. There's no way in hell we can figure out what this is doing. So unfortunately, that's kind of it. On the right side, this is a kind of a telling thing. There was a bit of bad news-ish in terms of us not getting many more Friday updates, but we immediately got this screenshot. We're still getting our Tuesday items, so there is a lot more content to come. This was really, really interesting to see. Definitely stay tuned to the channel and join us on Twitch for these Friday events where we look at things, because there will be more news on Mak coming. We might not be getting it in updates, but we will at least be getting it through Tuesday items, maybe the occasional screenshot, whispers through the vine. So more than ever, you're going to need to follow us and jump into the main Bazaar Discord if you really want to know what's going on. But if you have no idea with what I'm talking about, well, then you missed a very, very big update from Roost and the team regarding what is going to be happening with their video updates and why they're going. So to dig more into that, you definitely need to go and check out this next video. We dive deep into this. I mean deep. Like, I go into Roost's PR speak and then beneath it. So definitely give that a watch.